Finding Hope, the Road to Recovery.
Hello. Welcome to Finding Hope, the Road to Recovery. This is an ongoing video podcast, a joint connection between the Ayeneh Foundation and Tarzana Treatment Centers, where we raise awareness about substance use disorders and mental health issues in our respective communities. My name is John Lavitt, and I am the principal content creator for Tarzana Treatment Centers. The title of this episode is Increasing Access to Treatment Services in School Settings. And I'm really excited about this episode because it presents some real breakthrough work that Tarzana Treatment Centers is doing in school settings to really help kids find recovery, to when they are in crisis or when they're in a serious situation, to find the help that they need. And I can't think of any better population where it makes more sense to provide that early help and to provide services that can not only save their lives, but can make sure that their lives stay on track so they can become successful parts of our community and successful adults. I'm so proud to have as my guest Cassidy Todd. She is the Associate Director of Youth Services at Tarzana Treatment Centers. She has been running this new program. And Cassidy, thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be back in the studio talking about such an important topic.
And the work that you're doing is really impressive. So maybe we should just dive right into it.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it right this time, okay? Because sometimes I do get it wrong. And so as a result, I actually wrote down the questions. I hope you don't mind. But I really wanted to make sure that we get to the core of the issues, which I know that you feel are so important and that you put so much time and effort into, and thank you for that. The first question is, from your perspective, what are the most significant systemic barriers preventing students from accessing substance use and behavioral health services within school settings today?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different factors that are really contributing to this. And before we can really speak about within the school setting, I think we need to understand the broader context of systemic barriers in general for youth and their families. When you look at, especially we're in Los Angeles County, so looking at the community here, there is such a disconnect, I think, between different socioeconomic classes, different cultures. A lot of the youth in our communities are coming from households where both parents are working. Maybe there's only one parent. They have less supervision. There's just less resources in general within the family unit to be able to give to the youth. So I think that they're kind of coming into their school setting knowing that eyes on them at the school is probably going to be the biggest ticket to getting them the support that they need. For many of our youth, there is such a stigma around substance use, mental health disorders, but not just a stigma, there's also just there's a lack of understanding about it. So a lot of the youth that we're coming across in these schools don't even have an understanding of how what they're doing could be dangerous or problematic in any way, because families don't have the knowledge or the education to be able to have those discussions with them. So when we're talking to youth about, hey, vaping long term, what does that look like for your physical health, for your mental health, for your body, there's a complete disconnect between, this could be bad for me long term, but it's legal in California, so it's fine, it's safe. There's a really big disconnect between their understanding of what they're actually putting into their body.
Do you think there's a profound belief that legal means okay?
Absolutely.
That legal means safe?
Yes, absolutely. And they will directly say that too. And I've been working in this kind of field for about a decade at this point, so I remember the change from when it became legal recreationally in California. There was an immediate shift among youth, especially, and their go-to is always, well, it's legal, so it has to be safe.
Now you're talking not just about vaping nicotine, but about vaping CBD and marijuana and cannabis.
Exactly.
Right. And so much of what's available now with marijuana and cannabis seems youth-directed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that, you can go into these cannabis stores, which are so fancy-dancy these days,
Mm-hmm.
and, I mean, they're high-end.
Yes.
And you can buy CBD gummies that get you very high.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I know, because I've been sober for 18 years,
Mm-hmm.
but I've heard about it.
Yeah.
The other thing is you can buy chocolate, and they also have these different kind of like youth-oriented kind of cartoon characters.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Things that seem like fun and light and not a big deal, and directly appealing to youth and making you feel like, well, I mean, if it's fun, it can't be dangerous, right?
Exactly. And, I could talk about advertising of this stuff for forever, but kind of what we saw with nicotine advertisements, for the past few decades or so, where it really was targeting youth, especially once we got the flavored nicotine vapes on the market, that was youth targeted. They were flavors that youth would want. They're these bright colors, they're fun designs. The advertisements for them are very based in like youth and fun and look how cool this is. It's always been youth targeted because these industries know if they target youth before their brains are fully developed, they have a better chance of hooking that person long term. Now, when you move into marijuana, THC, CBD, you're absolutely right. These dispensaries they're advertising it in such a way that, hey, this is this fun, easy, cool thing to do. And for an adult, right, where it's legal for them to purchase that, fine. They can make their own, discernment about that. For a kid, they see that and it's like, oh, I'm just eating candy. It's barely anything. And then I get to feel really good about it. Great. Sounds fun. The other piece of that is really concerning to me is that because we're seeing a lot more of the edibles, they're in wrappers that look like actual candy, actual chips, actual cookies. So unless you know what you're looking at, teachers, administrators, parents, they may be happening right under their nose and they're not aware of it because it's just a very insidious way of using these things.
And it's not just with CBD. I mean, you also have that with the microdosing with psychedelic mushrooms.
Yes.
You have that with the ketamine. You have all these designed in ways that are youth friendly.
Yes.
And it seems to me that that's such a profound cultural and societal and systemic change that it would be really, really difficult for teachers, educators, principals, anyone in the schools to catch up with the changes because they don't even know what's going on.
Yes.
And suddenly, so suddenly in a sense, like, I mean, I know, both of us have worked in the treatment industry for some time. I think it's even challenging for us who are working in the treatment industry to keep current.
Yes,
and to keep ahead of the curve. So if it's difficult for us and this is our job, how it seems like it would be impossible for your average social studies teacher to understand what's going on.
Exactly, 100%. And you're kind of hitting the nail on the head of one of the cruxes of the problem is. You have to be so intentional with educating yourself about what do kids currently have access to, what is targeting kids, and how are they using it, right? And in order to do that, you have to be very consciously seeking out this information. For parents, for teachers, for administrators, there's 1,000,001 other things that they have going on. And you want to talk back to the systemic barriers, there's a lot of them for these families, right? This may not be at the forefront of a parent or a teacher's mind to educate themselves on because they've got a lot of other things going on, just getting basic necessities met.
And when you say getting basic necessities met, I mean, we live in Los Angeles County. I mean, Los Angeles County is now one of the most expensive places in all of America. It is truly something in which providing the basics for your family has become so difficult. If you're just ordering Grubhub or DoorDash, okay, for a family of 4, You can't order just burgers and fries and soft drinks for a family of 4 without spending over $100.
Exactly.
It is, and so for people who are trying to like support their kids and keep them clothed and pay for medical bills and pay for the basics, that pressure now is so intense that how can they worry about everything else that's going on?
Exactly, especially when they're not aware of it, right? Like, again, we're talking about proactive and intentional education on the part of the adults in these kids' lives. And it's just simply not going to be top of the list, because unless they see a problem directly in front of them, it's way easier to have that cognitive dissonance and say, there's no way my kid's doing it. I'm going to go back to this lane and worry about this problem right now, because that's something that I know I need to worry about. And that's where our role comes in. That's why being able to have more access to these kinds of services is important, because then we as treatment providers, we've done the education. We've gone out and kind of figured this stuff out so that we can condense it down and support the families too. Because if parents are left with, hey, your kid might be using something, go figure that out, then nothing's going to come of that, right? That's way too broad. That's way too much on them. But if we can come in and say, hey, these are the exact trends going on right now. This is what you need to look out for. This is how you can support your kid. We're giving them a roadmap to be able to do that. And it feels a lot less daunting than just, hey, go figure it out. This is stuff that teenagers are doing nowadays.
So then providing field-based services in the schools, one aspect of it, of course, is prevention and education. But the field-based services that you're now providing are now going beyond that as well. And, another question which is interesting, I mean, we've kind of talked about the issue of stigma and cultural beliefs and misinformation and how it's creating the barriers and stuff. And we've also talked, in a sense, we kind of have begun to discuss like the challenge for school administrators and teachers and counselors. Like, how are they able to even address these issues when these issues are beyond their understanding? It's not beyond their understanding. They're 100% capable of understanding. These are intelligent, talented people. It's just that they have so much on their plate that they're already dealing with. How can they keep current on something that they haven't been educated on and they haven't been given the tools?
Yes.
So in a sense then, with providing the field-based services, how are you filling that gap, if that makes sense?
Yes. I think you're right that with school staff, administrators, even like the academic counselors, the teachers, I view them at least as part of a kid's extended village, right? They're spending 8 hours of their day with these adults. So the amount of stuff that we are already expecting from school staff, they're expected to educate their kids. School often feeds the kids. They're supposed to be able to screen and monitor. Is there anything going on with them behaviorally? Is there stuff happening at home? We've put a lot onto the school staff, right? And
then the basics, like, do they have lice or
there's always something.
Or are they sick or should they be wearing masks or this or the other thing? I mean,
and we know that this is a problem, right? We know that teachers especially very underpaid. There's a lot of stuff going on with all of that. But for them to be able to really notice when a kid could potentially be struggling, because it's not just about, hey, I saw this kid smoking in the bathroom. Like, that's pretty cut and dry. Like, okay, we know this kid is using, let's put a referral in. But it's helping them to recognize the potential warning signs so that we can do some of that early intervention work or get in there before it's blown up into a bigger thing. So what we like to do when we go in is we really want to integrate ourselves into that school environment, into that system. And every school is a little bit different with how they function, right? They've all got their own ecosystem. So we want to make sure that we know who the key players are. So where are the referrals coming from? Is it all funneled through their academic counselors? Is it funneled through the school social worker? Whatever it's going to be in that system, we want to make sure that we have really good communication with them and that they know what we're offering.
Is that also, in a sense, like, and I'm going to phrase it like this, I'm not sure this is the way you phrase it, but let's say the red flags or the triggers,
Yeah.
right? I would imagine that those red flags and triggers that you're like, wait, is something wrong with this kid? Is something happening? Does this kid need help? I would imagine that they're very different in different schools.
Absolutely.
That in some schools, that level of like the red flag showing up, or the trigger being clicked, okay, is much lower than in other schools where it's much higher.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more noise going on in that school.
Yes, definitely. And that's where we run into the problem of overburdening the school staff, and that's where we come in. We come in and we educate them. We can do, in-services for all of the staff, not just the school counselors, because they may have a little bit more knowledge of the individual kids because they have to by nature of their role, but even just the teachers that see them for an hour a day. Like, that is still an hour that kid is sitting in your class. Are you noticing that they're coming in and their eyes are red every single day? Are you noticing that they're taking bathroom breaks twice, 3 times during the class period? Are you noticing that maybe there's an odor coming from them? There's so many different nuances to it that we want to educate the staff on and say, hey, here's like a quick reference sheet of what you can look out for. And if you do notice any of this, here's who you go to within your school system so that they can put the referral in.
Right.
And oftentimes that's kind of how we make it work within those school systems, because it's a lot more daunting for, for example, let's just say a teacher, to say, okay, notice it and then write up a referral and tell the parents you're doing that and then send it to us. When that teacher's like, look, I got to teach 5 classes a day. I don't have the time or capacity to do all that. It's like, okay, here's what you got to look out for. If you're even a little bit worried, just send the name over to the school counselor or the school social worker, whoever it's going to be within that school system, and they will do the further legwork of putting in a referral. Hey, counselor on site, can you just check in with this student really fast? Let's screen them a little bit. They can work with us a little bit more closely to do those things.
You just had a phrase that I think is fascinating, which is, can you check in with that student? It seems to me that checking in with that student today is harder than it has ever been in my entire life. And I think there are 2 reasons for that. The first is post-COVID. So many of these kids became so isolated during post-COVID that they almost lack the social skills to, even if they're worried about something, to reach out and let an adult know that they're worried about something. These kids suddenly have become bottled up. And then the other thing is screens.
Yes.
They're so addicted to their screens. They're so addicted to they're first willing to talk to Google or ChatGPT or Facebook and go on some social media group or post about it on Twitter or to take a picture about it, for Instagram, than they are in terms of actually talking to an adult and actually reaching out.
Yeah.
And it seems and it's weird because now suddenly I just got this image in my head of those screens as being almost like prison walls that are keeping the kids away from getting the help they need. Do you find that in the schools?
Yeah, absolutely. And thankfully, I think that at least Los Angeles Unified, we're kind of moving in the direction of removing phone access during school hours. Some schools enforce it a little bit more than others, and I think that's a good move to just kind of remove that distraction at least during the school day. But
did you hear what Australia did recently?
Where it's banned?
Yeah, well, basically all social media is banned for children under the age of I think 16 or 18, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I think England is following suit with that as well.
Yes.
And it seems to me to be a brilliant decision.
Yeah, and there is a lot of research now, thankfully, because social media has been around for a while at this point, that points to the detrimental effects that it has on youth's mental well-being. But I think even if we're talking about things like substance use, that's where they're getting it. They're connecting with their dealers via Instagram, via Snapchat, via TikTok. They're finding out about new sneaky ways to, hide it from your parents, via those avenues. That's where they're getting their information nowadays. And it presents a very scary concern where there's a lot less monitoring of that stuff. Even if parents are technically, monitoring their phones and things like that, it's pretty easy for a kid to make a fake account their parents don't know about. Like that's not a difficult thing to do.
No.
And that's where they're getting it. Kids will show us how they're doing it. Exactly.
Right.
I always love to say, like, the youth in our communities are some of the smartest people that you're ever going to meet, and they're just being socialized to use those smarts in a maladaptive way.
Right.
Instead of forming connections. And so to go back to kind of your original question, yeah, it's hard when we're talking about just touch base, just check in. Because one, they're not as comfortable with that. They don't have the language to describe what they're feeling or what they're going through, because that's a taught skill. And there's so much else that's bombarding them nowadays, from academic standards and expectations to social media to everything else in the world and all of the other systemic issues that these kids are not sheltered from. There's so many other things going on that being able to have that emotional intelligence and really learn how to connect with another person with empathy and with expressing yourself and vulnerability isn't something that is as emphasized with them.
When I first started smoking pot, when I was a freshman in high school, it was like a savior.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh my God, doing this means I can have friends, means I can have an identity,
Mm-hmm.
means I have something that I can focus my weekends around. Like, oh, wait a second. I mean, it's funny, I was talking to one of my oldest friends, and he's been sober longer than me. I've been sober now 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
But, and we talked about like how incredible it was that in our 20s, up to our 30s, but definitely in our 20s,
Mm-hmm.
we literally could not imagine doing anything without first being high.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't go to a movie without smoking pot. We couldn't go to a party.
Yeah.
We couldn't anything. We needed this, and it seemed impossible to do it otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, and so like, it's like taking that away. It's like, what am I supposed to do now?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other tools that you provide these kids with?
A lot of it is just what's going to be their go-to coping skill. So it's helping them understand how to reach out for connection, whether it's to friends, to parents, to another trusted adult, giving them some of those communication skills and the words to describe what it is that they need. And then other things like mindfulness. It's a wonder what mindfulness can do for a kid, because essentially it's the same thing that a drug is doing. It's taking you out of that negative space and helping you focus on something that feels a little bit more in control. So mindfulness activities, helping them understand what they actually enjoy doing. Like, there are hobbies that they can have that will give them that same burst of, oxytocin, serotonin that a drug will. They'll still get all of that from that, but a lot of them are not encouraged to explore different avenues that they may enjoy, just because everything comes down to technology nowadays. Exercise, helping them understand what like a natural high can look like. So I think it's just slowly introducing them to alternative ways to get that burst of like, oh, I feel a little bit better. Whatever that means for them. It's really going to be individual to the youth, to the person.
When you introduce them to mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
is it also working with them on like breath work?
Yep.
Yeah, it's incredible sometimes when you show a young person, like, just, why don't you just focus for 1 minute on your breathing,
Mm-hmm. on
breathing in and out and counting it, and see what it does for you.
Yeah.
And that they're like, wait a second, what?
Exactly.
like I never knew this. You
know? And it gives them a sense of, hey, I can do something I didn't think I could.
Right.
Thank you for helping me see that. And that's really what we're trying to do, is boost esteem so they feel capable of handling life without a substance.
Do you use that image kind of like the crutch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the idea of like imagine that you can live your life without this drug,
mm-hmm.
and yet also feel good at the same time.
Yes, yeah. I think
Right.
kids especially, they love the idea of being in control. Like they absolutely do not want someone telling them what to do. So I use that a lot of, hey,
Yeah.
right now the drug controls you. What if you got to take control of things for yourself?
Yes, and we're going to take control in the second part of talking more about how these field-based services are operating in the schools. And we're going to have Cassidy here as our guest on part 2 too. So aren't we lucky? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. Hi, welcome back to Finding Hope, the Road to Recovery. My name is John Lavitt, and this is part 2 of increasing access to treatment services in school settings. My guest for part 2, and we're lucky to have her for the second part as well, is Cassidy Todd, who is the Associate Director of Youth Services at Tarzana Treatment Centers. Cassidy, thank you for being here for part 2 as well.
Thank you.
Now, and I really think this is a revolutionary moment in school settings. Because, I mean, for years, I know Tarzana Treatment Centers has brought in prevention programs to the schools. But now we're bringing in field-based services like treatment and education and just really interacting both with the people who work at the schools and support the kids in those settings, and also with the kids themselves, and even with their families. Now, you are doing this on a multitude of different levels, meaning not only are you doing it with this incredible pilot program with LAUSD, the Los Angeles Unified School District, but you're also doing it with some alternative schools as well. And so I would just love to hear kind of like what your experience has been, both with the LAUSD and in the other contexts as well.
Absolutely. I think our journey to being in LAUSD started long before my time at Tarzana. We've kind of been in discussions about this for a long time. And I think in our journey to getting SUD services within those schools, we've learned a lot from some of the other programs that we started prior to getting in there. So we have worked with Glendale Unified School District. We're working with Assurance Learning. We've been in ACE, and we are with Bond Charter and Alliance Marine Innovation Technology for now. And then there's additional talks to expand beyond those as well. But every system, every school has its own unique needs, right? Its own unique, ecosystem that we're working in. And so I think you look at a school like Bond Charter, it's a charter school, right? Those might be the kids that have a little bit more acute needs, like academically or socially or behaviorally, whereas something like Glendale Unified might be a more standard, just public high school, right? Some are a lot bigger than others, so it's a little bit different when you have a school of 2,000 kids versus a school of 40, for example. So I think our journey really has been a journey of adaptability and of making those really important connections with each of the ecosystems that we work with, because we have to go in knowing, hey, just because we did something in this last school that worked, that doesn't mean that exact protocol is going to work here. We got to get to know the players that we're currently with now, and that's been great to do with LAUSD.
Do you also have different economic strata as well? Like with some schools, you have like the private schools where people are paying private schools in this city. It's like going to college.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so expensive. And so and so you have families of means, as opposed to like the bigger public schools. We have such a wide range of students from so many different kinds of families and with different resources.
Yeah.
Do you find that challenge? Do you find that the challenges are different in that context?
Yeah, I think with all of the schools that we go into, each kid is so unique, right? And so even within one school setting, like not even talking about from school to the other, you have to walk in knowing that you're going to have to get to know that kid. It's not going to be about, let me have this blanket strategy. But depending on level of affluence, cultural identities, those intersecting identities, you're going to be met with different challenges. And that even goes with, the administrative staff too. Like, what does the makeup of that staff look like? How open are they to us coming in? What stigma exists with the adults in the ecosystem, let alone the kids, that may present as a barrier to really getting in and doing the groundwork that we need to do? And I think that's been one of the things that we've really been navigating is how do we help all of the staff there and the families within that ecosystem understand the importance of what we're doing and understand the goal of what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, I would hope everyone is there to help these kids thrive. Like, we all do have that common goal, but there is so many different understandings about substance use and substance misuse that present different challenges, right? We have some cultures where like maybe things like alcohol are the norm. You have, larger family gatherings. There's always alcohol involved. Kids are exposed to that at a very young age. So there may be a different bar for understanding what misuse looks like versus a family where maybe their culture, that's not the norm. They did not grow up around it. So they may have a different metric for what that can look like, right? So I think it's different barriers just depending on what is the makeup of the folks that you're serving, what is the makeup of the administration there, and just kind of in the willingness of people to really champion.
I love the idea of microcosm and macrocosm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love the idea of say the microcosm of my individual recovery, in which I had to learn the difference between a reaction and a response. Mm-hmm. Because my initial reactions tend to be way off base.
Yeah.
And the difference between a reaction and a response is the pause. It seems when you're implementing from a macrocosm perspective, mm-hmm. field-based services in these schools, the pause is the temperature taking. Mm-hmm. You can't just go in there going, this worked in this school, it will work here too.
Yes.
Instead of going and say you know what? Let me learn about your school. Let me learn about which is such a beautiful word that you use, mm-hmm. your ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And then I can tell you what we can do.
Absolutely.
Is that really, are some ecosystems more challenging than others?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Can you give me some examples of different ecosystems?
Yeah, I think with some of the schools that we've gone into, the initial reaction was one of, this is an outsider coming in, what are you doing here? Which is fair, right? Like we are an outside contracted provider coming in, trying to do something and shake things up a little bit. And I completely understand that perspective. And I think it
made me think of Michael J. Fox coming in from the future and Back to the Future.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, who are you?
Yeah, and it's almost like with parents, right? Like
right.
when you are approaching work with a parent, sometimes they're going to take it as, you're telling me I've done something wrong. Why are you here? And I think schools, it's natural for them to have some of that reaction too, of wait a second, why are you here? Because the decision to have us in the schools is happening more at the district level, because there's more initiatives of trying to bring more wellness services to youth. And so they may, when we go in, there's a little bit of defensiveness of whoa, wait a second. Why are you guys here? We got it under control. What are you doing here? And then as we really put in the effort to get to know them and explain, hey, we are simply here to actually make your lives a little bit easier because we're going to take one thing off the table of what you have to worry about. Let us worry about this one specific problem or potential problem, and then free up your guys' time to focus on the million other things that you've got to do. So it's a lot of really coming in with our guards down and saying, hey, we are here to support you all in what you and your students and your families need. That's what we're here for. Instead of coming in and saying, hey, we're the experts on this, we're going to tell you how to do it. It's like, no, let's work with you. We want to learn what your needs are so that we can discuss how we can support. And a lot of that discussion is like, hey, this is what we've done in other schools and what's worked well. Let's have a discussion of what will work best for you, because it might not be exactly the same thing.
You know, one of my very close friends, when she was getting her MFT hours, in which it's like 3,000 hours, I think. It's I mean, literally, you have to put in so many hours before you get licensed as a marriage and family therapist in California. She put in a lot of time in different youth treatment settings. And what she said she said there were two main archetypes when it came to dealing with families. And the one archetype was a family who came in and said, "What are you accusing me of? What do you think? Are you saying I screwed up my child? It's not my fault. Why are you blaming me?" That was one.
Yeah.
And then the second one was, "Oh my God, you've had my kid for 2 weeks now. Why haven't you fixed them? Why aren't they fixed yet?
Yes.
When are you going to fix them?"
Yeah.
And that's so challenging. Do you find you get that kind of thing in school settings from the people who work in the schools at all?
I think a little bit, yeah. And again, it's very, person to person dependent. But definitely, I think there is a little bit of, why do we even need you guys here, first of all? And that comes down to a number of things. One, it could be kind of what you just described of like this, hey, we got it under control. Why do you think that we're messing this up?
What are you accusing us of?
What are you accusing us of? Exactly. Yeah, they really don't like when we're like, hey, 10 of your kids told us they're vaping in the bathrooms. They're like, no one here is doing that. It's like, well, I saw it happen. I watched it happen, It's a protective thing. All humans want to kind of protect their own, ego in that sense.
Sure.
It's understandable. And then I think the other piece is, why you? Like, why are you here specifically? Because you hear treatment services, and there just simply is a stigma attached to it. And so we're really trying to rewire people's understanding of what treatment is. And it's like, yeah, we're here to support the kids that are vaping in the bathroom in the middle of the school day because they can't make it through a whole day, right? We're here to support those kids, absolutely. We are also here to support those kids that have heard about this thing called vaping, and they're starting to get a little bit curious about it. We're here to support that kid so it does not get bad. So treatment does not have to be this, hey, someone's already off the deep end, let me step in and fix it because you couldn't handle it. No, that's not the purpose of what we're doing. We understand that adolescents, teenagers are especially susceptible to peer influence, to drugs, to all of this stuff. We know this. We know that there is not a single kid that is going to be immune to that influence. And so we want to go in from the understanding of, hey, the kids that really need help, let's get them those supports because you guys are already in your lane doing your own supports with them. And the kids that might need support in the future, let's just get them in now. Let's start talking to them now, give them some education, help you guys recognize the signs a little bit more. So that way that kid can hopefully be prevented from becoming the kid that has to vape in the middle of the day.
Yeah, and I want to go beyond vaping for a second. And because I think it's really important for people to know what we're dealing with here. Yeah. And, sorry, I get emotional. About 3 years ago, I lost a sponsee. And he went out and he was mainly a drinker, but he decided he wanted to calm down. So he bought Xanax on the street. And the Xanax on the street, it turns out that 75% of the Xanax that you buy on the street, the active ingredient, is actually fentanyl.
Yeah.
And he died. He took 2 or 3 Xanax, and they found his body the next day, overdosed. Danny. And it's incredible how many kids are dying from fentanyl overdoses. It's so easy to die from fentanyl. It's literally
it's a grain of sand.
A grain of sand is enough to kill you. and yet you're expecting these illegal drug dealers who are making the drugs to be able to like not only overdosing from taking an overdose, but just taking what you think is a regular dose, but this happens to be 2 grains instead of 1.
Exactly.
And so I think a lot of these schools have lost kids.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's like how can we express that risk to them?
Yeah. I think some of our partnerships start because of tragedy, right? Something has happened, they've lost a student, whether on campus or not. And so they're like, okay, we have to do something about this. But you're right, like a lot of these kids, the trend nowadays, we're going back on the Xanax, and most kids do not have access to actual prescription grade Xanax. They are getting it on the street from people that they don't know. A lot of it is laced with fentanyl. We've seen fentanyl in vape pens now. You had a kid test positive for fentanyl, swears up and down, only thing I've ever done is vape. It was in the wax pen. NOS is a huge one right now that is incredibly scary. It's nitrous oxide.
Right.
As these kids can get it online and buy it on Amazon. It's delivered to the house. No one's checking IDs when they're dropping it off. They can walk into any store and get it. So that's a big one too. And it's oxygen deprivation. That's what NOS does. That's why you get the high. It's oxygen deprivation. Kids are showing neurological signs now that it's damaging their nervous system. They're at extreme risk for overdose because of that, because it's just cutting off oxygen to the brain. They're mixing things. So if they mix Xanax and alcohol, that's 2 depressants. Like that has a really detrimental effect. And with the Xanax in particular, what a lot of the kids especially don't understand is there is a difference between a pill and a bar. And a lot of them are doing bars, which is essentially 4 doses of Xanax in one kind of combined little brick of a pill. They're doing bars and not understanding what that dosage actually is. So even if it is pure benzodiazepine, 3 bars is way over the amount that anyone would even be prescribed, let alone a kid that doesn't have that prescription.
And they can kill you. But the other thing is, when we were talking earlier about the whole advertising thing, within the drug culture, Xanny bars are presented as like a fun, cool thing. You know? Yeah. But there's no danger around them. It's just like, dude, I just want a bar, man. You know?
Yeah. And kids developmentally, just with their brains, it is just harder for them to understand that inherent risk. Like you have to go through so much of the just literal brain development, lack of brain development, to be able to get them to understand that piece, let alone add on all of these other issues that they're facing, and now they're high. So we're going to expect a kid whose prefrontal cortex is underdeveloped, who's now high on something, to understand the risk of taking a second bar. It's not going to happen.
But do the risks, when you're going in and raising awareness and doing the education and talking to the kids and talking to the parents, does the data about the fentanyl, does the dangers, does that help? Does that help? Do you realize, in a sense of like letting them know, like we are now in a time when a single mistake cannot be made? Does that help at all?
I would say it's 50-50.
Right.
Unfortunately. And that's the reality of what we're up against as providers.
50-50 is better than 20-80.
It is.
Okay.
But I think with youth, unless something is imminently facing them, they don't have the ability to think 5 years down the line. So unless a kid is faced with an overdose, it's going to be a lot harder for them to really latch on to that risk. See,
that's so fascinating, because you know what I was talking about with a friend when I was driving over here, is his daughter, who just graduated from college, is in a deep depression. The reason she's in a deep depression is because her phone was pickpocketed. She lost her phone. Over Christmas of this year, her mother bought her a hard drive and said, well, this hard drive is for you to back up your phone. I know your pictures are so important to you. You're an artist with your pictures. You take amazing pictures. You have 10 years of pictures on this phone. Can you please use this to back it up? Oh, yeah, of course. Guess what she never did? She never backed up any of the pictures. They're all gone now. She's lost them all.
Yeah.
And as a result, she's in like, completely dark depression.
Yeah.
And because my friend said, it's like this generation is a generation of won't happen to me. No big deal.
Yes.
Oh, please. You know?
Yeah, it's that and it's instant gratification. They're the generation of instant gratification. So unless you are directly confronted with it, it's going to be harder for you to really to care. You know, you might care on a very baseline level, but not enough to take action against that.
Because the threat's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And I have stuff to do. I have other things
to
take care of.
Or, you know, even if it's like, hey, let me give you this information about the risk of fentanyl use or the long-term risk of NOS use or any of this other stuff. What they're saying is like, yeah, okay, that's a little bit scary, but I've been using this for 3 years. Nothing bad has happened. All my friends do it. Nothing bad has happened. So I'm probably okay.
Right.
You know, they're gambling with their health and with their lives.
The exception to the rule.
Exactly.
Right. How do you approach the challenge of overcoming the exception to the rule when you're bringing these field-based services to the schools?
Yeah. A lot of it really is just what is meaningful to that person, because we're working with a system of like behaviorism. So like, what do they care about? And how do we start there? So it's just finding a starting point, and then eventually we can work up to, you know, the broader scope danger or risks associated with it. But I'll give you an example. If a kid is saying, well, I care about not being grounded anymore. It's like, okay, you're being grounded because your parents caught you with this vape pen. So seems like what we need to do is remove that and you won't be grounded anymore. So it's find the in with them so that you can start getting them to talk, getting that connection with them, and you build upon it.
And honestly, Cassidy, I wish we could talk about this for another 2 or 3 hours, because we really could. But this is the end of this episode of Finding Hope, The Road to Recovery. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And I really hope we can find that starting point, because that starting point is the starting point where we save lives. And I don't know if I had grown up in this day and age, if I would be alive today. And so I just want to protect these kids. And you're doing that in your work. And thank you so much for that work.
Thank you.
Brought to you by Tarzana Treatment Centers. You can visit our website at www.tarzanatc.org or call 1-800-996-1051.